Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for also being here with us at the Climate Week 2026. It's really a pleasure to have you here. So just to start off, please introduce yourself, your organization. What's your role in aviation environmental protection?
Thank you so much, Shinga, and thank you for inviting African Union Commission in this 2026 ICAO Climate Week. My name is Ntagengerwa. I'm the head of Transport and Mobility Division at the African Union Commission. My role mainly focuses on developing policies, strategies for the transport infrastructure sector, but in particular when it comes to the environmental and aviation sustainability. Our role focuses on mainly supporting member states in coming up with policies, harmonizing their regulations in terms of environmental protection aspects when it comes to aviation, but also supporting them in the decarbonization of the aviation sector.
Thank you so much for that. So when it comes to working in the continent of Africa, climate change is a global problem. It affects many sectors. So in Africa, the work that we do in Africa involves working with our member states as ICAO. I believe also the same for you. And we all look at sustainable aviation fuels. And when you look at sustainable aviation fuels, they touch different sectors: Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance in some countries. So in your work from the continental perspective, how well are these stakeholders actually working together at a continental level? What is the African Union Commission doing to support and enable the promotion and one day, development of a SAF facility in Africa?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Let me first of all mention the key continental institution we are working with for this particular topic, but generally for the aviation sector. So we have this African Civil Aviation Commission, that is a specialized agency for aviation matters in Africa, based in Dakar. So they are the ones looking at the technical and operational aspects of supporting the member states. Then we are working with the ICAO region offices. We are working with on various aspects to support member states. For example, when it comes to issues of adaptation plans in terms of preparing their master plan, the national master plan, their national environmental plans, and state action plans. So we are working very closely with ICAO. We are also working with the industry, African Airlines Association, in terms of bringing in the industry into the picture. Then when it comes to the sector, as you mentioned, environmental aspects are not only for aviation. We have already started working with the energy sector. So under our own infrastructure and energy department, we have energy division. For example, we developed a sustainable aviation and lower carbon fuel strategy in 2024. That strategy included inputs from our colleagues from the energy sector. But generally, we are looking at also bringing other sectors, as you said, because when you talk of SAF, for example, we need to see how Africa is maybe doing in terms of the feedstock. Yes. We need to bring in the agriculture sector. We need to bring in also the other aspect of infrastructure. When it comes to SAF, there is also supply chain. Yeah. We need to bring issues of ports and maritime, because we are moving SAF on the ground. So we need to look at the ground surface. So there are many sectors that we are bringing in. So what we did is, together with AFCAC and ICAO, we established a continental technical working group. That's where we want to pull other sectors to come in and support the aviation sector. And we have one common discussion, and we can learn from all these actors and move in one direction.
Thank you so much for that. It's really interesting and exciting. And it's also good to show that you're working with the different sectors within Africa. You mentioned a bit on the continental strategy. The question that we normally get from the region, from our member states is there any work that is being done when it comes to having something for the continent? So where do the member states find this strategy? Is it publicly available? How do they get access to it?
Yeah, when we did the continental strategy on SAF, which after that we also developed a detailed action plan, which is based on the LTAG targets, which was adopted in the 42nd ICAO Assembly. So we already produced an action plan and a monitoring framework. Through our technical working group, we have already published it on the AFCAC website. Because AFCAC is now the technical implementing arm for the aviation sector. But we also share them into our platforms, into our forum and platforms. So the member states are already getting these instruments. And in addition to the SAF strategy, we also started the work on the policy harmonization. We did some policy guidelines, which was developed. It is still undergoing one. We are still getting input from member states and the industry. But the policy and also the regulatory aspect, we also, of course, with ICAO support in terms of the annex, the ICAO annex on environmental protection, we also developed model regulations for the SAF and the environmental protection. And these are available to member states as they are also contributing. And we look forward to get them adopted and approved probably either end of this year or early next year.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And policy is very important for member states to be able to initiate anything themselves. Policy comes in very handy. And also the regulations. You cannot have SAF without regulations. So we really appreciate that the work that the African Union Commission is doing to promote that. So just to end this conversation, I know you're going to be in one of the panels. The African Union is going to be in one of the panels later on today. What last message would you give to the African states, the governments, when it comes to environmental protection, SAF, climate action? What message would you send out to the ministers of finance, the ministers of energy? Any last words?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe let me start with this particular forum. I find it very, very important forum and very appropriate for Africa. The ICAO Aviation Climate Week. I think it is important for African member states to really actively participate in this forum. We have seen member states participating, but I think Africa needs to be engaging and proactively working with other regions and be able to learn from the rest of the world on what is happening on the climate resilience and climate adaptation issues of course here the other countries are doing a lot. So we need to really encourage African states to come into this forum. Secondly, there was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, there was a Africa Climate Summit. Yes. Where the African states have, declared, what they want to do in terms of the climate action. And there was a Addis Ababa declaration which emphasized on the need to really support the climate finance, work together, have this continental framework and coordination to be able to improve into this sector. And I think I'm very optimistic that when we come back next year, yes, we'll have a lot to show as Africa.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to the continued engagement, continued participation and collaboration in our events like this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Inga. Thank you.